Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're making Pastelitos De Guayaba. For the ingredients, you're going to be needing cream cheese, condensed milk, puff pastry, egg, and guayaba paste. So what you want to do before you actually start making these little pastries is you want to make sure that your cream cheese has been left out to room temperature so it's soft. And then we're going to go ahead and get a little whisk or a fork or whatever it is you want to use. You can use an electric blender or a mixer. And go ahead and get that into a creamy consistency. I usually just like to make these smaller recipes by hand. And I just use my little whisks. And then once you get that to your desired consistency, what you're going to be doing next is you're going to be adding 3 tablespoons of leche condensada or condensed milk. I use this one that has like a caramel color, so just to give a little bit of color. So it's actually really creamy, and I don't really like my cream cheese like sour. Some people won't add sugar to their cream cheese because they think that the pasta de guayaba or the guayaba paste is already sweet enough. For me, I don't like sour cream cheese in my pastries. It has to be sweet. I like it for other things like on my bagels and stuff, but what you want to do is mix this really well, and then you're going to put this back in the refrigerator to cool just so it thickens up a little bit. And then next what we're going to be doing is we're going to be preparing the pastry. Now everybody uses pepperidge farm because honestly, to make puff pastry it takes a long time. It's not impossible, but it is just really time consuming. So what you want to do is make sure that you don't leave your puff pastry out at room temperature before you use it. You want to keep it in the refrigerator, thawed overnight, and you want to start preparing it and cutting it cold. So as you can see here already, even it being in the refrigerator, it was just very delicate, and I had to make sure that I was gentle with it. In the event that this happens and you find that it's still sticking even though it was in the fridge, just wet your hands a little bit, or just grab the tips, or you can actually flour your hands. I didn't do that, but I was able to manipulate it, and it worked out. But it was getting very sticky even then because the house was a little warm, and I had to work fast. So you want to make sure that you roll out your dough just to kind of stretch it out a little bit, and you'll probably get like an extra inch or so on the pastry, but you want it to be flat so that way it's a little more pliable when you're preparing the filling. But here you'll see that I take my rolling pin and I start to roll it out a little bit. I didn't have a whole lot of room, so I didn't roll it out as much as I probably wanted to or normally would, but all the same, it just needed to be rolled out a little bit more. So I went ahead and gave it a gentle little roll. I didn't want to make it too flat. Some people do, I think it's all preference. This is a recipe that I learned how to make on my own years and years ago just by using, puff pastry. And then of course, you'll notice that a lot of people that make this is particularly a Cuban pastry, but Puerto Ricans kind of manipulate it to make it their own as well. So we always add our own flair. So you can add your own flair if you want, and you can work your dough however you see fit. But again, you want to make sure that you're working fast. So here you notice after I rolled it out, I'm cutting it into 4 even slices, because what I'm going to do eventually is I'm going to take each of those 4 slices, and then I'm going to slice it down the middle again to make it into one pastry. So this is the second sheet that I've now started to work on, and I'm noticing here it's getting a little sticky. So again, I highly recommend that when you're maybe when you're working on the first one, that you put the other one in the fridge so that way it's not sitting out at room temperature, because again it gets a little sticky to handle, and then it doesn't look well or so I say it doesn't look cosmetically well, but it gets a little too pliable, a little too stretchy, and then again it gets a little difficult to work with. But here you'll see that I took one of the fourths, and now I made it into a half. And this is basically the size that I like to use to fill my pastry dough. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a piece of the guayaba paste and a spoonful of cream cheese, make sure that I prepared. And I just took it out of the refrigerator, and I'm going to scoop it on there. So you put how many as you want. The beauty of this recipe is that there really is no exact measurement. It's all basically done by eye. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take that extra shell that I just cut, and I'm going to fold it on top of the filling. But in order for me to make sure that it seals and it doesn't leak, I'm going to add egg wash to the corners of the bottom part of the pastry. And then you'll see here shortly how I'm getting, you know, prepared to layer the top of the filling with the other dough. And then and it's a little process, guys, so you know, don't get all scared or thinking that there's a wrong way to do this. What you're going to do is that pastry dough, once you put it over the filling, you'll see that you'll have to gently kind of stretch it, you know, with your fingertips, and then you seal it. And the egg wash is doing its job by you know, being sort of an adhesive. I can't talk tonight. But again, it's not going to look super pretty. It's not going to look aesthetically, you know, great. But I can tell you that the beauty of puff pastry is that when you use it and you bake it, it bakes beautifully. So again, you just want to make sure that the goal here is to keep the pastry from leaking during baking by adding the egg wash as a sealant or an adhesive, if you would. So now you're going to go ahead and finish the rest. I wanted to show you that example because it is time consuming, a little tedious. Now that I've finished all mine, I'm going to go ahead and score them over the top to allow them to breathe, because they do fill with steam, and so you want to make sure that the steam actually has some place to go and it doesn't get stuck inside the pastry, causing it to get watery or flatten out. So you see here that I'm gently going over the tops of the pastelitos now, and I like to add 3 like I would if it was a pie, the same way that you do a pie. You know, it needs room to breathe for the steam and for the cooking process to work inside the actual pastry, and that's when it begins to rise. Again, ensuring that you're not your filling is not going to actually seep out or fall out. So I've done this a few times already and it works beautifully. So again, if you have a way that you do it, that's great. Just do your own thing, but this is the way it works for me. And we're going to bake these at 350 for about I want to say about 25 minutes. But now before I go and put these in the oven, what we're going to do is just put a final egg wash over them, and I'm putting it on top because it gives it that golden color, and it cooks well. It doesn't dry out, and again, it just looks glossy. It looks amazing. It looks soft, and you'll see here shortly once we take them out of the oven what I mean. So it's super imperative that you do put a little egg wash on top of all your pastelitos, because that's part of baking with puff pastries. You want to make sure that it has the egg wash, and it gets that nice little golden color, and it gives it like a nice little almost like a little illuminating color, like it's like translucent, so to speak. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and fill these up, finish these off here. But I will tell you just a quick little story. My mom was never a baker, so I love to bake. My mom would always make more savory foods, so learning how to bake is something that just became a little bit of a passion of mine, and I love to bake. So you'll see here that I've been just kind of playing a little bit more with my cultural background, you know, being Puerto Rican, of course. I wanted to make something that we all love to eat, and being from the Caribbean, again, pastelitos is something that you know, is more of a Cuban dessert, but we tend to kind of bounce off of each other when it comes to our recipes and our cultural foods, because they're very, very close and very similar in what we do. So again, thanks to the Cubanos for this, because this is an amazing pastry. But you'll see that I finished it all, and so these are now ready to go into the oven. Now my final two up here, I just want to make sure that I scooch those over because I don't want them to cook together while I'm baking them. So now that those have gone in the oven and they're out now, you'll see that the pastelitos are now done. They are fluffy, they are golden, and they are super beautiful. They're super soft to the touch and very, very hot, so be careful when you're handling them. I definitely give these a thumbs up because they came out exactly how I wanted them to be. So now I'm going to steal one, now that it's been cooled, and go ahead and give it an amazing taste test here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that with my spatula. I'm going to transfer it onto a plate where I can decorate it a little bit. Now I have to warn you, you guys need to be careful when handling these because they are super, super hot. The filling stays hot for quite a bit. But you'll see here as we're doing in the inspection, it's like a golden brown at the bottom. It looks like it's a little darker brown, but it's actually very light brown. But my camera's just making it look like super dark. But you'll see my favorite part of pastelitos is, you know, the powdered sugar, so you can just dust it to your heart's content. I like extra powdered sugar on mine because it tends to melt away, and it warms my heart making this. I just feel like a little kid in the candy store when I do this part. But now I'm going to go ahead and cut it open, and you'll see here that it's super flaky, super soft, and it's really hot. And the filling just, it was beautiful. You'll see the cream cheese and the guayaba paste is just melted all over the place. And now I'm diving in for a taste test, and I know it's super hot, so be very, very careful. That wasn't a very hot bite, but it is delicious. And so I do hope that when you guys make this, that you enjoy making this with your family, for your friends, or even just for yourself. But I went ahead and grabbed the last few, decorated them. And you can enjoy this with a nice cup of milk or coffee. And I hope that you make this recipe and let me know what you think. Enjoy.